Welcome back to the things we know. We have a guest today that I'm really excited about, and Lisa is going to introduce her in a second. But I just want to say that when I think about the things we know, I'm really grateful that our guests help us broaden what we know, our knowledge, but also our beliefs, quite frankly. And today's guest isn't just wise, she's so inspirational. And I know that if you're listening, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, it's like I could go on and on before I even go on and on. But today, our guest is Liane Lopes. She's an intuitive healer, energy alchemist, personal coach, and human potential enthusiast. Welcome, Liane.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so glad. It's so funny. Obviously, we've been doing this pod for a year and a half, and we'll get into this much more. But it's just like all of a sudden, I was like, "Ooh, we should have Liane on." And when I texted you, you were like, "Of course, you just asked me that because it's divine right timing." You and I have worked together. We were trying to figure this out. What would you say for about 4 years we've known each other? 4 or 5 years.
It's been a long time, but I would argue it's lifetimes.
No, yeah, no question. Yeah. And it is interesting. I am continually amazed by your not only the way you hold space for your clients, but how you hold space for yourself and the people around you. We could go through so many things talking to you, but today we're going to really explore. And this is I want a presence. Like, this is not our normal pod. Like, this is going to be some stuff that maybe the listeners are going to be like, that's weird and woo, but I love it. And when you and I are together, we feel it so energetically together. So we are going to talk about the illusion of obstacles and setbacks, the illusion of obstacles and setbacks, our belief system on aging, and then how to become a master manifester. With Liane, Divine Feminine is in the house. And I love how she is truly a living, breathing inspiration. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, you are somebody who can truly makes anything possible.
I cannot wait. I'm so happy to see you again, Liane.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's just dive right in. As we said, it's an illusion of setbacks, but in this human world that we all live in, you have had your share of setbacks. Again, you and I've known each other 4 or 5 years. You were a student of the Health Coach Institute. I was your coach there. And when I think about our first time meeting to who you are today, it's like night and day. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, kind of end with that. But just share what you want about your journey, your setbacks, how it brought you to this work, not only as a coach, but just literally how you live your life.
Ooh, this is a loaded question, and
I question.
I love that we're stretching people because this is what it's all about. I am truly living in my purpose, and it's time to wake up, people, because this whole reality really is an illusion, and you can transform your life. And this is the message that I want to share today. Stop those belief systems of I can't, it's too late, why me? And shift to yes, yes, and yes, because you are that powerful. And yes, I know setbacks. My whole life, I have been exploring why we are here. What's the point of this? Why do these bad things happen to us? When I was a little girl, all I've ever wanted was to have a family and to help people. And that story has shifted and molded in different ways over the years. And at the end of it all, I truly believe that our setbacks truly are an illusion because Joanne, I'll get to that later. I'm just going to preface by saying, I want to stop feeding into these lower vibrational stories that keep us hooked into this low energy. Because we're just we're giving life to something that is dense and frankly hard, and it can hurt.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm not going to go too much into it, because I want to invite people into that same space. And it's not denying what's happened. Sometimes we do need to go and look at it, and we work with coaches and psychologists and anybody that we have in our there are a lot of plenty of professionals out there that can guide us through it. But I want to focus on transformation. I want to focus on how we get out. And by feeding into this story, I'm gonna say, like, enough with that. It's bullshit. Sorry.
I love it. What we appreciate appreciates. So if you, yeah, I love it. I love it. Perfect.
I want to talk about the illusion of setbacks because I agree. I think there's the kind that are the stories from fear and limiting beliefs. I talk a lot on the pod about how we experience a lot of medical setbacks for my son. You know, his we can't really, it's not really a story that he has a, you know, a rare form of epilepsy. And Lisa knows this really well. Like we will make strides and he'll, you know, and things will go really well. And then it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. We try to really stay in the, like the abilities, not the disabilities, you know? And I think he's a really positive soul, but you know, I'm always trying to understand, like when you were just saying like these don't give into the stories that are low vibration, like, can you give an example of what that's like? And then also kind of how you work with that when someone's story is like something they can't change.
Well, the story can be changed with how we identify in it is that's where the alchemy comes in. And I love you, Kari. I honor, like, you truly are a heart warrior. And I'm so grateful that you're bringing this up because I'm sure this is going to help so many people. Specifically, when you're talking about something like a medical issue. So what comes to mind, I know some young, I like to look at things from a higher perspective. And it's hard when you're right in the immediate circle as a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
But I have people within my world who have learning disabilities. And so, for instance, a young boy I know who is autistic, and every day at school, he has children who are throwing food at him in the cafeteria. And he's just not relatable in the same way. But he is truly a gift to this world because he is constantly teaching the adults around him and his peers around him, anybody who's within his circle. If you actually get to know him, he just is a very logical thinker, and he just is, okay, well, that's just them. They're behaving that way. So how I get out of these moments is by really rising above and looking at things from a much higher perspective and taking the I out of it and looking at the field and how all our roles are interconnected into this massive field of energy that is weaving together, that is helping each and every one of us grow into our highest light. Mm-hmm. So, and how we change that is by shifting the identity into a higher vibration. I know another young girl who is diagnosed with an emotional disorder. Guess what? She's just a super empath. And that is how she processes information around her. So is that a disability? No, it's her gift. And yes, we have people who have physical disability. Like my great-grandfather lost his leg in the war, and he was limited in other ways. I had a grandmother with rickets. Guess what? It was those conditions that push them to start to focus on other areas of their life, go back to school, got a degree in accounting, developed other areas, other gifts that allowed them to have a brighter future. So we may see it as a setback in the beginning, but there is always an out, and there's a reason behind it all.
I mean, that lands so much for me with Griff, don't you think? Like, you talk about this all the time. I feel like a lot of times it's the other that is making it a disability or a limitation, and the person who's experiencing it isn't necessarily. I mean, I know Griff rides a wave, but still.
I mean, I think he's super conscious, and there are times that he is grieving, and I wouldn't try to get him to bypass that to, like, you know, all of a sudden look above. I think skipping grief is bypassing, but no, he lives in a very you know, positive place, and it's a world of ability and possibilities, and that's absolutely, you know, what we want for him. But yeah, setbacks are hard. They're really hard when they like pull the rug out from under him, for sure. And there's a lot of things that he wants to do he won't be able to do. he focuses on the things he can. So yeah, in that way, yes.
He is a gift. And sometimes when we feel limited, as a mother or going through periods where I felt very isolated, I I saw that as an invitation, and Lisa can testify to this, to start just to focus on what gave me joy. Because when we can hold that joy and that high vibration, when the shit bombs are happening around us, it's easier to be able to manage it. And it's also opens a space for the people around us to meet us in that energy. Because if I lower my vibration and meet them where they're at, I'm doing a disservice to myself, and I'm closing an opportunity for them to step into.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because I mean, we just did the crisis of confidence one. That was in whatever month that was. June, I guess, is when we were talking about crisis of confidence. And it is funny because whenever I do, I think it is human nature to, because I'm rambling because I have like so many things running through my head, but it's human nature to, when you are in a low vibration, when things are not going the way you want, to immediately look at that. And even with as evolved as you have become, I know I don't want to say you fall back into it. It's just human nature. We're still living in this human experience, right?
Mhm.
But because I'm aware, and Kari, I know you do this too, and obviously Liane, because I'm aware, I allow myself not to bypass it. And then I try to I switch over as quickly as I can to, okay, but what's going well? I have another coach that I know who talks about like, the not the gratitude list, but she calls it something else, but it is just like, okay, yes, I'm going to have my feelings about what's going on, but then I need to switch over to what is going well for me. So, because that gets me into the higher vibration.
Yeah. I think we've said this many times. I don't live there, but I
No.
allow myself to go there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's important to go there. Like you said, Lisa, I've been able to sustain this really, really high vibration now, so and I can manage it. But every once in a while, yeah, life just sucks me right back down.
Yep.
And it's in those moments that I ask myself this question: is this for me? Or is this for someone else? Because again, from the higher perspective, this isn't just about my evolution. This is about us evolving a- as a human collective consciousness. So sometimes you are brought into a situation to help another. Sometimes it's something that you need to look at. Is this triggering me? What do I need to look at? What is the story here that is still holding on a subconscious level that I need to let surface so I can change that story and see things from a higher perspective.
Love that. Kari, did you have another question?
I did. I met you a couple of years ago and then saw you recently at Lisa's daughter's performance in Violet, which was so good.
That was so good.
And you're objectively striking and youthful. You glow, you radiate. And what I know from those meetings and what Lisa tells me, you're radiating that vibrancy from the inside. You said you want to talk about the belief system of aging, and I'm just fascinated by that. And we were recording one before this. We were both saying how our phones are sending us stuff for neck cream.
True.
So let's talk about that. I want to hear more about that because I think that people would probably be shocked to know that you have even children because you look so young. Yeah.
I am 47 and I feel 30.
That's
I
awesome.
truly feel 30. If I was to get pregnant tomorrow, I'm still in that timeline, if you will, because that's how I feel on a physical level. And if you actually looked at photos of myself at 32, it was actually my daughter that pointed out. And Lisa can also testify. I looked like a shell of a person. I was lost, and I was trying to rediscover, because my purpose is bigger than this human experience. I'm here to help elevate humanity into a higher vibration. I live by that purpose, but I had to go through all the steps myself because how can I teach somebody else or guide somebody else if I haven't gone through it myself?
Yep.
I had a really hard time looking in the mirror. I focused on all the flaws. And so this is where I want to break the illusion, and what you focus on becomes your reality. So if you want to transform and really shine from within, you need to fall in love with yourself. And then that glow will start to ignite, and it will just build, because as you say these positive affirmations, I created an altar around when I put my skincare on. I am so appreciative to have this body. And when I am looking in the mirror, I'm not looking at my flaws anymore. I'm looking in my eyes. I'm looking at my soul. I'm looking at my mouth, because that is when I'm smiling, that is what is radiating. And then I'm focused, because I'm obsessed with consciousness. And we can even do this little exercise. When you go within into your heart and just imagine your heart pushing out, and imagine this glow and just moving it outwards. So the energy is coming from within, from your heart, and just shine from the inside out. You literally start to glow. That is your aura, people. And we need to start to develop a relationship with that aura, because that is what is going to set you apart. I don't care what you do in life, whether you're at a grocery store checkout person, or you're a babysitter or a grandmother, you can see people when they radiate, and we need to start focusing on that.
Yeah, you're talking at a much higher, I mean, first off, that is an amazing experience that I hope people will just go back and re-listen to. Like, if you're having a minute of not appreciating yourself, go back and do that visualization of going into your heart and watching your heart expand around you, and you just automatically uplift. It's funny because I've been noticing this recently, as you both know, and obviously you both see me in this way. When I was before my hip, when I was in really bad pain, there was this moment in time, up until, let's say, 6-8 months ago, where, yeah, every time I was out, people were coming up to me, women, men. Oh my God, I love your outfits. Oh, I love your style. And then I didn't really think anything of it, but it stopped and it started back up again. And I absolutely think it's because the way I was holding myself, and there was no other way to hold myself. I was in immense pain. I was limping. I was crunched over. I mean, I jokingly said, and this is maybe not a joke, but like, there were times that I would see someone, unfortunately, an unhoused person, cross the street, and I was like, that's what I look like. And I just, because they're in pain and I was in pain. And so I think, the opposite of that was, I was in so much pain, I couldn't look any other way. And so I probably the glow was completely gone. Now I'm not in pain anymore. I find myself standing taller, standing straighter, all the things that I haven't probably done in years. And so there is an actual, you don't even have to go to this fifth dimension in this world, for maybe people who are listening and going, well, I don't know what that means. You can do it now. It's just a matter of holding yourself in a certain way, and believing in yourself, and loving yourself. And then you start to learn, oh, this is great. Now I'd like to take it to the next level. And that's really what you did, right? It was like, you didn't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to live in the 5D, right?
No, it's a process. And it's the journey, and we need to embrace the journey, and how you feel is everything. If you want to think of a time when you felt vibrant and alive, and bring that into your now. Think of one story where you just laughed until you almost peed yourself, so that when you are in those moments when you're feeling down, you can connect there just through conscious awareness, and you can giggle, and it'll snap you out. And then you're able to see things from a higher perspective, just because you're simply holding a higher energy.
I mean, that's the simplest way to explain it.
That's
right
true.
there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that when we talked about this once, about humor. And that's one of Lisa's and my absolute I think the things that give us both energy individually and together are music and humor, right?
No
Like
question.
they're big connectors. And those are things on any given day, no matter what's going on. It, you know, with anyone I care about having any kind of struggle, like those are the things that center me. Those are the things that like allow me to hold space for myself and others. So you're right. Like knowing what feeds your energy is what's going to help you have it.
Well, and when you think about when you and Kari and I have been together, Liane, you and I, when we've been together, when we are being approached, because it's happened when for all of us, right? I think about Kari, when you and I were at that bar in Venice Beach, right? And we're at the end of the bar, minding our own business, but enjoying each other's company. And like, these guys were just coming over and wanting to talk to us, which was somewhat annoying because we're like, no, we're here together. But I do think that's what, we were in a bar full of people laughing and enjoying each other, not really, we weren't aware of other people. And I think that's attractive, right? There's that high vibration when you can be comfortable with yourself.
And I think it's
Totally.
important to add one little thing to that because
Please.
you nailed it. You weren't relying on external sources to be
Yes.
joyful. It truly came from within. And
Yep.
that is where the tools in your toolbox are everything. And the more you play in it, the more you master it, the more empowered you will feel. And as you start to hold these higher vibrations, that's when you start manifesting and bringing in all these new and exciting experiences. So the message really is to know that you always have a choice, number one, in every now moment. We can either approach a situation like one way or another way. And if we could just start with that and choose to take that higher road, then you're already on the right path to a successful high vibrating future.
Which then goes back to, if you have a choice, when things are tough, when there's a struggle that shows up, you can choose, and probably should choose, to feel that feeling. But then you get to choose to let that go and move into the higher vibration. We're not talking about spiritually bypassing rough situations. We're talking about have your feelings and then make the choice to not wallow in it, which again, Kari, you're the queen of not living in it.
Yeah. Although I was just thinking about you, like when you're in physical pain, you couldn't totally choose to not be in pain.
Well, that's just it, right?
Right.
Although I'll never forget, and this was early on in my pain. I didn't even know yet that this was something I was going to have to get a hip replacement. But you and I were together, Liane, when Jenny was here, and we were talking about this at the restaurant. We were at a restaurant and we were having this conversation. And I so distinctly remember we were crossing the street to come back to my apartment. And you said, we had talked about what story. And I shared with you, I said, it's funny because I'm at this point, which now seems quaint at the time, but of like being where my mom was, where it was like everywhere she went, she was a little bit slower and her feet hurt and blah, blah, blah. And I sort of made fun of her, like, oh my God, come on, speed it up. We were in New York City together and she was probably about my age at the time. And you said, okay, so that's the story you're holding on to. Like now you feel like that person that you made fun of. You're like, think of a time that you didn't feel like that. And so we stood on the corner and I pictured a different time and I did walk across the street with no pain.
Wow.
So, I mean, our minds are very powerful.
And I would even add, if we're going to look at this now, it's coming through, so I'm going to share it, that higher perspective. When a situation comes, is this for me? Right. Or is it not for me? And so that experience was there to connect you to your mother,
right? And
to help you shift out of that story and also see things from her perspective.
Yeah.
You see the divine order in it all.
Yeah.
So that's why feel the feels and then ask yourself, is this for me or for someone else? And then shift it into that higher vibration.
So feel the feels. Is this for me or someone else? And then shift into the higher vibration. It seems so simple, and it's not. I mean, tell me about, and I want to talk about manifesting here in a second, because that's my favorite thing. But tell me about that experience for you, like your trajectory through that, because again, I love the idea of it's simple without being easy. So you had to continually practice this. And because I've seen you through this experience, I mean, when we met, this was not what we were talking about. We were not building this business, you know. And so tell me about the storyline of getting there, of getting to where we are now.
Living in the now, because you're right,
Okay.
it isn't easy. And I became obsessed with it. Why? Because if I wasn't in the now moment, obsessed with my energy and just focusing on shining like the sun and discovering who I am and loving myself in every now moment, I would go into the past, which doesn't exist anymore, the
Right.
trauma and all that stuff that was keeping me down, or I could go into the future and anxiety and the fears of what if and what's going to come. And I said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to live in the now and make every now moment count. And that I became obsessed. And just like riding a bike, it does take practice, it does take time and discipline, but it has freed me. And that is my message. If you can live in the now and get out of that's where we break the illusion of timelines, because the future
Right.
doesn't exist anymore. And you can transform that future into a higher timeline by just holding a higher energy, because you're just going to be projecting these higher vibrations, and everything just transforms from there. So living in the now is how I got there. And I became absolutely obsessed with being my best friend, my lover, my coach, my everything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh,
Can
love
I
it.
ask, before you get to the manifesting, can I ask,
Yeah.
like, what are some of the what were some of the key things that either influenced you or like really spoke to you? Was it books? Was it coaches? Was it,
Okay,
teachers?
this is
Yeah.
gonna ruffle some feathers with some of your listeners. I actually am a shaman, and so I have a really strong connection to the spirit world. And spirit
Beautiful.
is so funny. And so I play with my ancestors. I play with spirit. So, and they've been guiding me as a spirit shaman. So they've definitely played a key role in it. So I don't mind actually being alone, because I know I'm never really alone. But music, hands down, my biggest accountability partner. And also tapping into my senses. So this is where I would invite everyone to really, there's no such thing as coincidences. I know everybody knows this, but to really live in that awareness and see that there are messages being communicated to us continuously throughout our day, whether it's on a license plate, a song, somebody having a conversation next to us, a smell that brings us back to a moment in our past. The communication's always there. So when we start to see life as this game and puzzle, that becomes more interesting, and then life becomes truly a game. And again, it takes me out of that personal element of needing to survive something or to achieve something. It truly is just living in the now in this game of life that we get to master.
Mm.
I love it.
Um,
So in my human design, as I've said many, many times, I am a manifester. That is different than manifesting.
right.
As a manifestor in human design, that's its own thing. But when I found out I was a manifestor in human design, it was like that hot minute when I was Irish for a second in ancestry.com. I was so excited that it disappeared. But I am a manifestor, and I love that because I do believe in manifesting things. I do believe very wholeheartedly in saying what I want so that it comes to me. That's one of the things once you were starting down this path, that was one of the things that we just chew on all the time. So talk about what that means to you and how you teach it to others.
Well, it's shifted over the years. And I am going to preface this by saying we are all manifestors.
True. True.
And it's so important that we start to own our energy and our intention behind everything, because we are already manifesting from the energy that we are projecting outwards.
Yep.
So it's awareness that shifts it, because when we think about manifesting, we're thinking, okay, I'm going to manifest a lottery win or my dream job or whatever it is. But you can have all those things if you start to match your vibration to the things that you want. So that is why it always comes back to energy. What is the energy that you're holding within? What are the stories you're saying to yourself? What are you identifying in? And even more importantly, what is the energy that you are holding in your belief systems that you're putting out into the world? What are you wishing for another person? Because when you are truly, even if that, especially the people who may have hurt you or disappointed you, if you can truly let go of all that and wish them growth, abundance, expansion, joy, guess what? That's going to come back to you tenfold. If you can truly, and that takes a lot of strength and courage and awareness to be able to let go of that pain, because it's to really authentically say that you wish that for a person is different than just saying it. If you understand, that's what I talk about, what I mean about the energy and being honest with yourself. You can say something, but if your energy is not matching it, it's the energy never lies, and the universe knows exactly who the sender is.
Well, and I think so. As you were saying that, I was thinking, I mean, we made you referenced a lottery ticket, but let's say something even, something that's more down to earth. That's a weird thing to say, but it's like, what happens when you think, oh, I want this, and you say, I want this, and it doesn't come to you? I do think you're right. There, you can want something, but your energy doesn't match it, which means then do you really want it?
Yes, that's when you have to look at the intention behind it.
Right.
And also, I would say that you're limiting yourself by wanting something. I would put out just this high, just again, be in the now, focus on holding this high vibration and let your high self surprise you, because maybe it's going to be bigger and better and more exciting than anything that you could even dream of. So, and the gift is really truly living in that now and letting the universe show you just how miraculous it is. And this human experience truly is a journey and a gift into our mastery.
Love it.
You mentioned that alchemy is real and available to all. And I believe that. I mean, because what you were just saying, obviously, we do this all the time as coaches and with ourselves, right? It's like we were talking about money on a recent episode. And I really believe I've seen it, right? That you can actually, if you work on your ability to receive something and you make room for it, like the universe knows where to send it. Like it knows it just comes to you. I've seen that more times than not. Now I'm aware that like not everybody, I mean, some people are like single parents and they're working so hard and they, like they hear stuff like this and they're like, how do I have time? Like, how do I access this? So when you say it's available to all, like I do believe that what you pay attention to grows. And so let's say someone's just like, I have this debt I want to pay off. I have this debt I want to pay off. And I, want to be able to send my kid, off to this camp she wants to go to. I don't know. I'm thinking about somebody that I work with in particular. It's like super hardworking single mom. She's amazing. Like, give me an example of like how you approach that. Cause I think she's doing a pretty good job of focusing on, envisioning what she wants, but I feel like there's still something there about, this alchemy piece, like the power that everybody has to create what they want or start to receive what they want. Is that what it is? Is it about receiving it, like making room for it to come and not like creating it? How would you put that?
So when I'm tapping into her energy, and again, you could see like there's just so much effort, and I can feel it, but she's still looking outside of herself. The energy is hooking out and waiting for it to come in instead of just being an expression. And if she can shift that vibration into gratitude, and I know things will start to flow. And then when you just put out to the universe, show me what I need to do, bring the right people in my life to help shift my money mindset, my abundance mindset, and show me how I can get my girl to go to summer camp, and the gifts will come. But what I'm really tapping into is the wanting, because she's in mama bear mode. She wants to provide the best she can for her daughter. And what I'm hearing also is if this is your daughter's, if she put her in your own role as the mother, and is that what you'd want for your mom, for your daughter as a mother? And if we start to play in that realm, and it shifts everything, it really does, because at the end of the day, these children are, future generation is just so much more powerful, and I feel that they are they're wanting just more emotional fulfillment. It's coming less from outside, and at least from what I've witnessed.
Yeah, I do. I go there a lot with people that I'm talking to about, especially when they have children. It's like, how would you want your child to walk through this same thing, the same challenge? And what would you like if they were to recall what they saw you know, exemplify in a similar situation? What would you want them to see? That always feels a little bit tiny bit mean with some people, but it's just this opportunity to like, what am I modeling here? Because you're right, that love there is like, we want that for them so badly, but what we want for them is to know how to respond to it, not to fix it for them.
Right. And once they grow into an adult, what is going to stick with them?
Right.
And if you can change it and make it less about the stuff and the summer camp experiences, and make it more about every night my mother did the dishes, blasted the music, and she had her own little party in the kitchen, and she let me slide. I didn't have to put away the dishes, and we just hung out and talked. That is what's going to stick with them. That is what's going to shape their future. And it's that relationship that really matters more than anything else. Stuff is just stuff.
Oh, so good. So you and I've talked a lot about quantum, and when we are you and I've talked about this, like when I'm with you and we're talking, you know, you come and hang at the pool. You live in Canada, but you come visit in LA quite a bit, which is so fun. And we spend time at the pool, and we're just like talking the entire time. And I'm right there with you. Like, I'm like, I get all of it. And then you go away and I'm like, I can't explain this to anybody else. Right. It is. So again, it's the energetics. When I'm with you, I'm right there next to you. But because I don't live in the world as in depthly as you do, I aspire to that. It kind of goes away. So if you were to break it down to someone who is listening right now in its simplest terms, what would you say about 4D, 5D, all of that? That might be a huge question. I'm sorry.
It's a huge question.
I know. Well, that's the thing, talking to you, it is huge, because it is not, I do think we've talked about this, right? I think we both believe that we are having these conversations, you and I, you and the people you talk to, Kari and I, because more people energetically are coming into this realm, right? But if you have it, if you're curious as you're hearing this, it's still brand new. And so what's the teaser you could give people maybe?
Okay. Well, we'll try and look at things from 5D, bring it to 3D, and
There
then
you go.
back so that we can connect it all.
Perfect.
So everything's energy.
Mhm.
And it starts in these really, really high vibrations. And it's like a thought that eventually comes into form. So I like to use the example of inventions, airplanes, for instance. It started with an idea, and somebody was holding a really, really high state of consciousness. They're able to tap into that field of energy, and then you get inspired, and you start to create from there, and it comes into form. So as a human being, and we're holding a lower vibrational energy, it's sometimes hard to connect to that because we're not holding that higher state of consciousness. So what I have done in the past, because there are times when people are speaking way over my head, and I just sit and listen, much like a child, and just absorb the energy.
Mm.
And as you absorb the energy, much like what happened to us in the pool, you're attuning to that frequency. And as you're attuning to that vibration, then all of a sudden it'll just click and you'll get it. So you're getting out of your ego mind, trying to understand it, and you're just absorbing it, sensing, attuning to it. That is the quantum field. And again, it comes to vibration. As you hold these higher vibrations, and you start to live in higher states of consciousness, and your whole world starts to change. Even visually, everything you look at just shifts and changes.
Mm.
Love it.
Do you have two daughters? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have a routine or ritual with them that's kind of expanding this way of living for them?
Conscious parenting is one of the most beautiful practices because it creates space for them to discover just how powerful they are. So, and they're teaching me so much. So it's not, as a conscious parent, I like to create choices for them. So much like we were talking about earlier, we have a choice in every now moment. And what is the message in this now moment for you to see and hear and feel so that you can make choices from this space? They also, we use a lot of crystals in our home. So this is definitely something that they see me as mystical, woo, different, but they secretly like it. I'll say things like, do you want me to change? Because this is who I am. And no, we don't want you to change. It's just weird. So I'm creating space for them to be their authentic selves, and because I don't want to be like everyone else. So that's another message that I'm sharing with them.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and really to understand energy. Like my youngest, she had a neighbor that came over, and and I was in one of my giggly fits, and I just can't help it sometimes. Sometimes I do need to ground myself because my energy is just so high. And she says, yes, my mom's high, but she doesn't take drugs.
That is awesome. You're like Liane the Good Witch.
Yeah. Amazing. That's so good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said earlier on that, we've known each other for a long time, and you and I've talked about this as well, but I just think back to that first time you came onto Zoom. I picture you in that white kitchen, and as often happens, when you meet a kindred spirit, a soul family, right away, we just boom, we just loved each other. And I just think, I'm just curious what you would say to that, Liane. Because she is so different.
Stay the course, girl. You are pure love, and you are making a difference. And I am so proud of you.
What do you think she would have said to that?
It's hard, but I'm going to.
Nice. And then because of the timelines they are what they are, right? Let's fast forward to 2028. What does that Liane want to tell you?
Woo!
I know, I just can't.
Her vibration is even higher than mine right now. So it's kind of interesting. So you're getting a little taste of how I operate because I can tap into that. Shine, shine, share, ignite. Don't lower your vibration for anyone because you are creating space for everyone else to live in this reality. And I know it's hard for them to relate to it, but if you lower to try and relate to others, then how can you keep that door open for them to have this new experience? So
I think that's so big right there. I want to touch it again because it's like when you are, if you are moving into this space, right, of higher vibration, you are going to get people who are like, I joke about it all the time. I always say, I have friends in Chicago that think I moved out to LA and went off the LA deep end, right? Like, but I know that this is who I like you, right? I mean, we won't go into it, but you have a pretty powerful story from back when you lived in London. So this is not really new news to you. You just hadn't tapped into it, right? And I think that same thing about myself. I'm like, this is who I've always been, but I'm growing into it. And I just happen to be in a space between becoming a coach and living in LA and that sort of thing that has allowed me to flourish, right? But you're going to get people that are like, what on God's green earth are you even talking about? And your point is, let them feel that way.
yeah.
You're still keeping the vibration where, oh, there's a balloon for Kari. Kari's balloons are very exciting. If you're not watching, again, for some reason today, Kari's Zoom is going crazy.
My energy is celebrating.
Amazing. But yeah, it doesn't matter what the naysayers say. You stay where you stay, you do you. And if they decide to join you, good for them, lucky them. And if they stay where they're at, that's not on you.
And I love them anyway, because
Exactly.
they can only see from where they're holding energy or holding space.
Yes.
So I'm doing a disservice if I'm going to feed into that.
Yes.
So yeah, I know this is real. I am a truth sayer and I am going to stay here and invite you all to join me when you are willing and ready.
That's exactly it. And they will when they are.
So you brought us a cool song, and I love the title of it because you just watching you have your future self tell you to shine.
Yeah.
I was just reminded of a poem that I quickly looked for and I can't find it. So I'm going to have to send it to you later about sunshine. It's a poem that someone wrote about some people just have sunshine in them. They are just meant to, shine bright and like illuminate everyone around them. That was the point of the poem. I'll have to find it. But anyway,
I would love
just
that.
reminds
Please share
me.
it. Please share
So
it.
is the song you brought us sunshine?
It is sunshine, and it hits home for me because I spent my whole life trying to fit into a world that really wasn't me. And if Liane spelled Liane, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means daughter of the sun. And I am a manifestor
Right,
generator.
Yeah, man, Jen.
So I am literally here to ignite people and to shine my energy and spark them and light them up so that they can step into their highest light. And what I love about this song is that there's a line in it that says, for the first time in my whole life, in the sunshine, because that has been my journey. And I am the daughter of the sun, and I'm here to ignite everyone else and light up the sunshine that is within them. And it's interesting because there is a line in it, and it's not a correct line, but it's what I hear. Sometimes you hear something differently.
Yes.
I keep hearing, never giving up on you, never giving up on you. And that it's like, it's my high self that is speaking to me.
What's the real lyrics?
I don't know, because I never hear them.
Oh, okay.
I focus. Again, what you focus on becomes your reality. So it's this beautiful relationship between me and my high self, and me discovering who she is and what my purpose is, and to create hope and space for everyone else to live the life of their wildest fucking dreams.
Nice.
I love it. Well, that makes sense. I'm a Leo, so that sun is my sun sign. So
That's
again,
awesome.
of course that makes sense. Ah, so good.
Well, Liane, I'm so happy and grateful that we got to spend this time with you. I think it's just perfect timing for me. It's very uplifting and inspiring. You are like a breath of fresh energy and sunlight. So thank you.
Yeah,
I
it's
love you,
earlier
Kari.
this week, Carrie texted me and she was like, I forget what you said, but I was like, well, it's a good thing we're interviewing Liane this week because I think
That's
that's exactly
right.
what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Aw.
mean, such a pleasure. I enjoy every single minute that we are together. I know when we're not physically together, we're still emotionally, energetically together. It doesn't matter if you live in Canada and I live in LA. We are soul sisters, and I'm just so happy that you joined us today. The most important thing, though, that I really want to make sure, and we'll put links, but can you share where people can find you?
Well, for the first time, talking about being stuck. For the first time, you can find me through my social media. The link will be there. So everything I share is to uplift and inspire. I am not doing any personal coaching right now because again, if we're going to touch a little bit on it, being stuck really just isn't a block. It's just a delay, and it's a chance to revisit. So I'm focusing my energy right now on inspiring people, sharing messages. It's all free online until I'm in a space where I can start doing one-on-ones again and public speaking. But I'm actually working on a book right now. So again, when you think things are at a standstill, they're really not. There's all energy's always moving, and we're always inspiring and growing. So yes, please follow me on one of my social media platforms and reach out
Because
to
you're
me.
on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube as well.
I just started a YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to have a conversation with me and have an opportunity to do some free coaching, working together, I would be totally willing and would love to do that with anybody who is interested. But so this is me now, and who knows what will happen a couple months from now.
Absolutely. And that's true of everybody. It's just we
Yeah.
all sit in the past or the future and we worry. And it's, again, the whole thing about present. This is who you are today.
Yeah, I
Period,
may
end of
be on a
story.
movie screen, or I may go to hairdressing school. I don't know.
I love it. Well, we will have all the links in our show notes for sure. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.